Hello, good afternoon, folks. My name is Sam Snyder, and I'm going to try to persuade you on the certain type of topic that I'm talking about. People who are seeking welfare benefits should have to pass a drug test before getting those benefits. You like money, don't you? I can guarantee you most of you work for your money. Today I want to direct my attention to the working class of America. I want to talk about drug testing welfare recipients and applicants that are applying for welfare today. Most of you work your butt off to make your money, and some of that money that you're working your butt off is going towards these welfare benefits. Now, if I knew that there was a chance that people were wasting it on drugs, I know I would want to stop it. So I think we should drug test these people on welfare and who are applying for welfare at some point. I care about this topic because I'm in the working class of America who are paying these people for who are not working. We're going to talk about a story of a little boy whose parents were on welfare and how they spent their money when on welfare. We're going to discuss about some states that are already kind of adopting this policy. And then we're also going to discuss some statistics between the U.S. population on illegal drugs and the U.S. population on welfare. So let's get started, shall we? The need. I need to explain to you the importance of having these people drug tested before they receive their benefits. Like I said before, we're going to discuss a certain individual that most of you might know. His name was Michael Orr, whose parents were on drugs and were on welfare as well, but using those benefits in the wrong types of way. That's where the example of how it can affect a child comes into play. So have you ever watched the movie Blindside? It's about a kid named Michael Orr. He grew up with drug addict parents. His mother was receiving those welfare benefits because his father was nowhere to be found. He completely picked up and left. And his mother was then taking care of all of the children on these welfare benefits, but also dealing with drug addiction. His parents spent most of their money on these drugs instead of on the children. Parents didn't provide him and his siblings for what they needed to survive. Was bounced around from foster house to foster house all of his entire life, up until he was a teenager. Parents didn't teach the kids how to succeed in life on their own. They had no means of making their own kind of money or no means of really how to interact with society, considering his parents were, for lack of a better term, MIA. So Michael was able to learn so much more over the years of being raised by his sober, nicer parents who adopted him in his high school years and took care of him. One night, a family noticed that he was walking alone on the side of a road and picked him up and brought him into their house. They found him scrummaging through garbages at the end of a football game in a local high school, which he wasn't attending at the time, for food because he had no means of getting any type of food. So after all of that, to speed up the process of the story, Michael was then adopted by this family that found him on the side of the road and was taken care of. So as McLaughlin said, while living with his mother, Michael is illiterate, negligent, and forced to search the stands of a basketball stadium for leftover food, which is what I just said, in order to eat. However, when Michael was taken out of that situation, out of that addicted household, he flourishes. He becomes this smart, excels in football. Michael learns to perform better in schools, excels in athletics, and then goes on to play professional football and is making millions of dollars. Once Michael gave up on his mom, he was able to get a good education at a private school, was able to excel at football in that private school, and was able to learn a lot of important life lessons with these new parents. So Michael Orr's life is one of the examples of many that children that are suffering with drug-addicted parents who are on welfare, who use that money for themselves to get the drugs instead of on their children. Michael did not deserve that treatment, and it's unfair, to be honest with you. I mean, there's thousands of kids suffering like this. All that information was given by the needs section from an W.E.W. McLaughlin, 2013. Satisfaction. We must have these people pass a drug test. Florida adopted this policy. The Florida Department of Children and Families is the department that's doing this, and it takes care of the families and children of the state of Florida. The state of Florida does do a drug test on people who apply for TANF, which is TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Newell stated that TANF assists is primarily intended to benefit the children of low-income families. With certain limited expectations, families without children are ineligible for assistance. So those parents who are taking care of those children are in fact drug tested before receiving these benefits. The state of Florida does indeed, which is what I just said, drug test their applicants to make sure that the state's money is not being wasted on drugs. Ensures that sober families get assistance. If we drug test every person who's applying for welfare, no matter what kind of welfare it may be, our money would not go to waste. If they do not pass this drug test, it would decrease the number of people we put in some kind of welfare programs. They all must pass the drug test. Many people have to agree with what I say. Even McCarty had explained in one of his abstracts, he had explained the benefits of SNAP, which is basically the Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program, which is also called food stamps. People, indeed, in his abstract, he also explained that people sell their food stamps for money to get drugs. McCarty actually thinks that criminals should also not receive these types of benefits that help people. He doesn't think that anyone with a criminal record should receive any type of help from their state, and we should not waste our money, our tax dollars, on them. He has done research to also show that you, as the working class, spend about $125 a month on a single person on welfare. So next we're going to talk about some statistics on the U.S. drug use and welfare population among the citizens. So as you see here, the people on welfare in the United States. There is tons and tons of people on welfare in the United States. Just in the state of Ohio, we're spending about $85,000 per month in the United States on people with welfare. And as you can see, if you want to take a look at the visualization, look at different other states that do that, that's fine. But we do spend a lot of money on people on welfare, and how do we know if these people are on drugs or not? And that our money, all that money, is not getting wasted. Next, we have people on drugs in the United States. We have our illicit drugs and marijuana, prescribed drugs. These are all illegal drug use, even though it says prescription drugs. It says people taking prescription drugs that aren't on that type of prescription. They are buying them. These are just kind of like the percentages, and then millions of people on these drugs. Now, how do we know that some of these people, some of these 24.6 million people in this category of illicit drugs are not on welfare? And how do we know that these people are not spending this money on drugs that we are giving them? So, don't worry, I'm going to leave you with some sort of plan I have here. Help me spread the word and the information about drug testing applicants and recipients on welfare. If we spread the word enough and get out there and get to our governments and get protesting, we might be able to pass this. We need to take some action and stop the drug users from taking our money and wasting it. We need to go to our government today. Now that I gave you some statistics on welfare and recipients, I gave you some examples of how it can affect children, and I've even given you some information about how and where our money goes. We need to have them drug tested, and I hope that you agree with me. Thank you for listening.